Welcome to the Social for Brokers podcast. Today, I have with me Robert McGarry from Syndeo, who specialises in helping individuals in the financial services industry communicate with their clients digitally. That is quite a bit of a mouthful, so I'm going to break it down because it's something that I've looked at before this call, and it's a really interesting bit of software, and it's actually been used by one of our clients and people that we've had on the podcast before, the Mortgage Hut, so we're going to get into it. If you're not sure what it is or what they do, it includes artificial intelligence, conversational technology. So what that is, or part of it, and Robert will dip into this, is when you go onto a website and you almost see that pop up on the right-hand side of somebody that you can have a conversation with. At the very basic level, it's that, but there's so much more too, which Robert's going to speak to us about. These kind of things are huge at the minute, and this is exactly why I wanted to get Robert on here, because it can convert your website visitors into leads, and a lot of mortgage brokers at the moment are looking for more ways to generate leads because we know the purchase market has quietened up. So anything that can give you a bit of an insight into that industry, we thought we'd bring Robert in onto the podcast to have a chat about that. So Robert, thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, and thanks for having me. It's
that's all right.
To talk to you and meet you and meet all of your customers as well and clients. It's good to do that. It's good to talk.
Yeah, good to speak about this company that I hadn't heard of before I started speaking to Chris and Nicola at the Mortgage Hut. And it's nice to have a different accent on the podcast because I'm getting fed up with the English one, to be honest with you.
Well, this is a different accent, no doubt.
So are you guys based in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, where I'm speaking to you from the centre of Belfast, and our workforce are largely Northern Irish based. We do have some people in other parts of the world, but the company is a Northern Irish organisation. Yeah, so we've been going since 2018, growing and getting bigger and more. We're recruiting all the time. We've expanded quite significantly from those small beginnings into the side of the company we are now. Yeah.
And what's the size of the company now? How many staff?
I would say we're probably about 25 all told, one way or another.
Oh wow, quite a big one then, yeah.
So we do lots of business, and whilst we're talking today specifically about our business around mortgage brokerages, we do business for large financial and retail organizations, and we provide other services as well as the one we're going to talk about today. So not everybody is involved in what we're talking about, but we've got a number of people who can move between two sides of the business. Sure.
And it'd be interesting to talk about how you got into that niche, because niche is a word that's thrown about a lot in the mortgage industry, that you should pick your niche and kind of go in on it. But we'll talk about that shortly. Now, before the podcast started, I said to Robert, talk to me as if I know nothing about this. Now, I think I am quite tech savvy. I know what goes on, but some terminology that's used in the tech space can be quite daunting. So if you can just strip it all back for us and tell us exactly what Syndeo does and how you've helped mortgage brokers in the past.
Right. Okay. So your initial introduction about a feature that occurs on a website, which when you click allows you to interact with, is a very good starting point. And in fact, I would say most businesses will be thinking about that whenever they hear me talk. They're thinking about the small blue circle at the bottom right-hand corner of their website, which whenever you click starts into a like, do you want to talk to us? Mm-hmm. And that can also have a flag before that, which encourages you to come to it. So that's where we start, and that's the simplest way of thinking about what we do. But that's not just what we do. So typically that would be a chatbot, either a chatbot or a live chat. So it's a piece of technology in the case of a chatbot, or a person maybe who's picking up the call if it's a live chat. And the purpose of that on the website is to get sufficient information from you to be able to call you a lead, and then pass that lead back into your organization. That's the base functionality. And what we do is we do that as part of a bot. We use artificial intelligence to run the conversation. And so we're trying to make that experience. We don't want to pretend to be a live person because that would be passing off, but we want to be able to provide you with an experience that feels like a live person. So if you as a customer get the information in the way that you want without having to ask the question several times or have to rephrase the question several ways, and we can understand it and answer you. It doesn't really matter whether it's a machine or a person that's answering. As long as you get the answer, you'll be happy. That's a good customer experience. And we do it in a number of different ways. I'm talking about, in fact, you've mentioned artificial intelligence. So our artificial intelligence allows us to do two different modes of conversation. So one is what we call directed chat, which is where you're prompted with a number of outcomes. You're effectively a menu option that you can.
Right.
That's pretty good. I mean, that's a good way of moving you through a conversation. But also you may want to talk. So if you want to just use natural understanding and type your questions in, then we can interpret those and then give you an appropriate response. So a typical way of thinking of the two of them is you might come onto a chat and say, can you tell me something about how you deal with people who maybe have got a bad credit history? And you can then provide your standard company response to that. Or you might ask about how long will it take me to get a mortgage, or what are your mortgage rates, all of those sorts of things. We can handle all of those in a conversation. And whenever the conversation has got to a particular point, then we can quite quickly smoothly move you into like getting your contact details so that you are a lead, and then we can pass that information on to the organization. So that ability to mix so open conversation, sort of conversational responses, and then move you into a lead capture process is something that we've designed our technology to do.
So before we go on to the next part, because you talked about something really interesting before the podcast started about different parts of the website. But before we get into that AI, I'm glad that you said you don't want it to be human, because that really frustrates me. If I visit a website and I know I'm talking to a computer that's pretending to be a human, I don't like that, because it's almost a lie, isn't it? That's how I see it. Whereas what I like you said is these people know that they're speaking to AI, and it's just a set of menus that can guide them through the conversation. What I like that you said is you make sure that you then want to turn them not only a website visitor or somebody asking a question, you want to turn them into a lead. And the only way you do that is by getting their contact information.
Yes. So you can think about it. What we do is providing two types of function there. One is to answer questions. So you may get telephone calls or emails to your business, and you're continually responding. So we can handle all of those queries. So we do that. And then in call center technology, that would be called call diversion. So we're picking up the stuff which is not a waste of time, but is just people wanting information, and you can provide them with all the information, and they'll be happy about the fact they got that from you. And then to be able to turn that conversation into a lead, just as you said, that's exactly our approach. And if you think, you reminded me that, as well as having a button in the bottom right hand corner, you could actually have the access or the involving the chat from anywhere in your website. It could be a call to action, it could be a menu item, it could be on several different pages, and it could initiate the chat differently depending on where it is called from. So that ability to attract you into the chat is part one of our job, and we have two sides of that. One is we're trying to get you onto the chat, so we will use all sorts of techniques that I just described to get you involved in the chat. But once we get you into the chat, it's a question of keeping you there until you give us sufficient information for us to call you a lead. So those two approaches or two phases to what we do allow us to get a very good conversion rate from the number of people who visit your site and become a lead.
So the people and tell me if this is what you do, because this sounds really interesting. If they were on your website, they were on the mortgages page and they were on the first time buyers section, they could almost press a button that says speak to somebody about a first time buyer mortgage, and it almost like pre-populates the message that can be sent through this chat.
That's right. Then we probably qualified a little bit more after that, but
yes, yeah,
absolutely. We would take you down, and depending on whether or not you're looking for a first-time mortgage or a remortgage or a buy-to-let, the questions we ask are different, because you want to know some slightly different things. So it will take you down what we call an intent to get you the right information. We get to get the right information from you so that we can pass it on to the broker to have the proper conversation whenever they call you back.
And when you think about as a website's running 24/7, isn't it?
Yes.
So you've got to, this is where I find it really interesting, that you're not going to miss anybody because it's 24/7 it's running, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's a key point. What we're doing, it's one of our philosophies was to be there at the time your customers, not only at the time, but in the way that your customers want to communicate with you. So you are open between 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, whatever it is, but that's not the only times your customers might want to talk to you. And I would say we probably get about half of our leads out of ours.
Okay, wow, 50%.
About that. Some organizations are slightly less than that, some slightly more. And that's because people sort of an evening sitting in front of the TV, they've been out all day working and they're perusing the website, and then I wonder can I get a mortgage for that? Then they come on, and our bot is able to give them, I would say, most of the information they need to satisfy their interest and to at least create themselves as a lead for you. And that's I think a big thing. So it's 24/7. So we could be there at any time of the day and night, obviously, but also the channels that people use. So it's not just a web chat. I mean, they could also contact you using Facebook Messenger if you've got a Facebook presence, or Viber if you use that, or WhatsApp if you use that. So it's kind of being there in the right place at the right time, so your customers can talk to you.
Yeah, so making sure that all channels are open. Yes. And that's a big thing for us as well. We say to people, social media posts don't just appear between the hours of 9 and 5. Yes. When people are scrolling on social media, they can see that you're talking about mortgages without you having to actually speak to them on the phone. Exactly. And that's a very simple way of looking at it. Do you have any integration between the website and their social media with some of your mortgage clients?
Well, I think the easiest one to think about is Facebook, because most people are familiar with that. So you're absolutely right. If somebody was on your Facebook site and they were scrolling and they saw a product that they were particularly interested in, a mortgage offer, then normally what they might do is they might send you an email, or you might send them to fill in a form with, we'd be interested in that and we'll get back to you. That's pretty standard. But what we could do then is, if you then click to the Facebook Messenger button on our website, then they would start a conversation with our AI. So you can ask it questions. We would respond on your Facebook Messenger while you're on Facebook. And then take all the information. Once we'd sorted out that you're interested in this particular offer, then we could create that as a lead, and then we would tell them, well, okay, thank you very much for that information. One of our advisors will be back to you shortly, either the next morning or Monday morning if it's over the weekend. So that ability to interact with Facebook posts whenever you're on Facebook is I think what you're asking me. And
definitely.
Because that channel, or if you have it on your Facebook or your own website, we can do it in a similar way as well. Yeah,
I just think people are very familiar with social media because we use it pretty much every day. So it's a great way to start a conversation, to start it through Facebook, but use your AI tools to be able to carry on that conversation going. And it was interesting. I was reading your social media stats, and they reckon that 1 in 10 agent interactions will be automated by 2026.
Yes.
So 10% of all companies are going to have a bot speaking to them instead of a human.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the way things are going in all manner of industries, and it's I mean, our background was originally in voice and IVRs, so that's we realized that even sort of 10 years ago, we could see the growing non-voice the channels becoming important. And that's just been a trend that we have seen continue to grow. And that statistic that you've cast out there, we're starting to see that coming now. It's definitely it's not necessarily all that far.
COVID's fast forwarded that, hasn't it? Because you don't need more staff to run those things. So let's talk about another platform, another social media platform. And a lot of people probably don't think this is a social media platform, but WhatsApp is classed as a social media platform. How do you guys integrate WhatsApp with your services, and how can it help brokers?
Okay, that's nice one. So if you can imagine, you on your phone sitting in front of the television and you type in the name of a mortgage broker that you've seen advertised, or you follow a link and it brings you to their web page, which is rendered on your mobile phone. In the bottom right hand corner of that, you could have a WhatsApp button. Whenever you press that WhatsApp button, it'll kick you into the WhatsApp app, and you can ask in the similar way as I was talking about the web chat button. It now acts like that, and you can do all the same things. So that if you like, the AI is now sitting behind WhatsApp,
right,
and behaving in the same way as the AI would behind, like I just described, in Facebook or on the website. So you can do the same things. You can ask it questions about the type of mortgages, times, all of that, and then it will also then take you through a lead capture depending on the type of product you're interested in. Now that's it. So it does exactly the same thing, but the big advantage for us is that on a website, if you've entered a web chat and you've moved away from the website, you're gone. The only thing you have is whatever you've left behind you. So it might be a telephone number, or it could be an email. But if you've communicated with a mortgage brokerage using WhatsApp, then that mortgage brokerage can go back to you at any time, and it will just be as if a friend is calling you, and so you've got it's persistent is the important thing. Like Facebook, it's persistent. You have their WhatsApp address. You can call them at any, or message them at any point after the conversation. You're not in the mad rush to get them before they leave the website. You're not trying to get them on the telephone or trying to get them to come back to an email. You have them on WhatsApp, and the glorious thing about WhatsApp is that you can tell when they've read your message. You don't have to worry about that they get that, and which is and it's also brilliant for being able to attach documents and scans of documents, so you can go back and say, I didn't quite get I should have asked you for, you wouldn't scan that for us. I mean, there's all sorts of other things. It's encrypted, so you're safe and secure with it. But from a business point of view, because we're using WhatsApp for business, any interaction that your business has with a particular client is recorded. It's there. So if for compliance purposes, or even just to go back and check to see what somebody told you or what you've told them, then you can go back and you can check through the conversation and see what, not only what you have said, but maybe one of your brokers has said on your behalf. So that ability, that's why we think WhatsApp is
it's fantastic, isn't it? And WhatsApp desktop as well. I know it's nothing to do with your software, but WhatsApp desktop is one of the biggest things that's changed a lot of industries over the last few years.
Yes,
being able to type out messages is a huge thing, and creating groups for people that have mortgages, husband and wife, that you're no longer relying on them speaking to each other at night. You can update them both at the same time. One thing I was going to say about WhatsApp is, can you preset the questions? So say if you took on a new client and for example, your new client calls them agreement in principles, not decision in principles. Can you tailor the responses in this AI chat, or is it set?
No, it's completely tailorable. So what we would tend to do is we would watch how the conversations are going, and then tweak the model so that it responded more appropriately. So if we discovered that there was a set of responses which weren't maybe eliciting the right replies, or a set of questions that weren't eliciting the right responses, then we can change that and change the wording. And if we discover that there are people looking for something different from the conversation that we have originally set it up for, we can make that change incredibly simply. Either we can do that at Syndeo, or somebody in the mortgage company can do that for themselves. So it's not a
so it's fluid thing. So it's something that can be changed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I saw something on your socials, the WhatsApp. So they stored all in one like dashboard that you have.
So that's another good point. All of the channels I've just mentioned there, web chat, Facebook, WhatsApp, Viber, Messenger, all of those. So we have the ability to access them from a single, not a dashboard as such, more like a user inbox where they can see all the feeds. So you can see all. If I, Robert McGarry, was to come on his WhatsApp, and then all on his SMS, and then on his web chat, you would see all of my conversations in your inbox, and you could then see them that way. You don't have to keep logging into different applications to manage the different chats or the different platforms. So that all in one place is a key feature for us. Absolutely.
That's really useful. And what results have your mortgage broker seen that you've worked with? Can you give us any examples of people that you've worked with in the past?
Well, you've mentioned the Mortgage Hub, and they were very interactive in how they and visionary in how they wanted to use our technology, and they were able to get really quite impressive results from what we were doing. They were, even just in a one period, and I can't remember, was it the first 30 days or the second 30 days, they managed to generate sort of almost over 200 odd leads from in a month. I would say also that they were getting well over half of their leads generated out of our effects. And from memory, it was 54% they were getting out of ours. So that was business they would maybe not have got previously, or would have appeared maybe as a cooler lead than what we were able to present to them. And there are, because we're using AI to do this and not a live person sitting typing in all hours of the night, it's considerably less expensive, let's put it that way, than
having a member of staff to reply to them. Yeah, you can. Exactly. Yes, it is. And what you need to do is you need to drive people to your website to be able to turn them into, and obviously the Mortgage Hub are doing a lot of SEO to be able to push them to that.
Completely.
But those people that are on there, it's, for me, from the outside in, not being a mortgage broker, and I've got no affiliation with Syndeo at all, but seeing this is a way that can not only start a conversation with somebody that's on your website, but also maintain that conversation and convert it into a lead instead of just letting them browse through your website.
Oh, completely. I mean, and I wouldn't necessarily say that this is the only way that you allow people on your website to talk to you, but it is a very effective way. I mean, you can still have forums, you can still have, contact me, emails sent. You can do all of that. It all still works. And this is just maybe an approach that works for a demographic that likes using, or is more used to social media. But from our perspective, the engagement is a lot more is a lot more complete. It's sticky. So you're not wandering off the website and going off and doing something else. And once you start the chat, we hope that throughout the chat that we're able to answer all of your questions and keep you within the conversation until you give us sufficient information for us to call a lead. So you're not wandering away. And we call that containment in our talk. So in our speaks, we've been able to, once you've got them into the chat, contain them by making sure you're answering all of their questions and responding to the answers they give in an appropriate way that keeps them engaged in the conversation.
Awesome. So here's a question for you. Where do you think AI is taking this industry next? What do you foresee in the future for this?
Right. Okay. So I can see that I think there are a number of different approaches. I would say that businesses will have to adapt to a changing demographic, because it's not all 30-somethings and 40-somethings buying houses now. You hope there are people who have grown up with social media, who have grown up with TikTok, and that's how they speak to their friends and their family. And I think that businesses will have to learn to do the same thing. And it's not particularly unusual for Generation Z to be doing quite significant pieces of personal transacting and then also business transacting over the likes of WhatsApp and Facebook and TikTok and all of the other popular platforms.
It's a very good point. I honestly think you will start to have clients that are, say, mid-20s, and I don't know which generation that is. I always get confused with the Gen Z, Gen X, whatever it may be. But there will be people that will do mortgage without picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Because they can verify their ID online. Yeah. They can send you their bank statements. They've got open banking. They can send everything through to you, and there'll be no interaction whatsoever. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how that group or that particular person likes to communicate with somebody.
Well, that's it, and I think that's the advantage, that you don't close down all channels and become solely digital, but
Yeah.
they're growing, as you mentioned, 1 in 10 in a couple of years will be doing it that way. So you've got to, I think, be there. Otherwise, they just go past you and find somebody who does.
That's it. And you've then got to think it's not just the age, because I love this AI conversation. It's how people that used to do things by phone and face to face now find it so much easier to do it over text or WhatsApp. Because if you think a nurse that works nights, then they've neither got the time or the inclination after a 12-hour shift to pick up the phone to a mortgage broker and talk to them about rates.
Yeah.
Send it all through on WhatsApp for me. I'll do it when I wake up, when I'm on my way to work or I'm having a break, and I don't have to speak to anyone. I'm worried about getting to the next family do, looking after the kids, getting to work.
Yes, no, I completely agree. I think you've hit
Do you
the
see?
nail on the head there. The sort of the idea that you'd have to actually sit down in an office and call somebody and then have a probably quite an intense conversation whenever there's ever so much going on in your life. I mean, I can't see many people doing that, and certainly not younger people, or as you describe, people on the move who are just like, answer me this question. I'll get back to that whenever I can get back to it. And that
Exactly.
that is the beauty. And I think that's if you like, it's almost not in real time. It's out of sequence, it's asynchronous, so you can do it that way. No, for sure. Definitely that's the thing.
No, it's been really interesting talking to you, Rob. It's really interesting to see not only how that product can help, but like the future of this industry and how it can help. Is there anything that you guys can help mortgage brokers with at the moment in terms of lead generation that you want to mention?
Well, I would say that the key thing is to think about where your customers are likely to be coming from and who they are. And as we mentioned, if they are sort of becoming more young as time goes on, then I think you need to think about how they communicate. And I think there are definitely people in the business who think that their customers have to hear the tone of their voice to be able to buy from them. And I don't think that's the way things are going. I think people are prepared to buy, as you said, without ever speaking to anybody. And you will have to accommodate those potential customers, or they'll find somebody else who will treat them like the way they want to be treated.
Yeah. Very good point. As a thank you, we'd like to make a £10 donation to a charity of your choice. Which charity did you want to make the donation to?
So I would like you to make the donation to the My Name's Doddy charity. It's for motor neuron disease research.
Okay.
Probably you may have seen recently. He was quite a famous Scottish rugby player who had contracted motor neuron disease about 5 years ago and died earlier on last month. And it's a charity which is, I mean, I'm an ex-rugby player. It's a charity which is close to my heart and many others in this game. And if that would be possible, that would be great.
Fantastic. Yeah, great. We will make that donation for you, no problem at all. Okay. And the best place for people to get in touch with you, Robert, where's the best place?
So our website is www.syndeo.cx. Get us there. You'll find a chat button, obviously. Or if you want to speak to me, it's robert@syndeo.cx, and you can speak directly to me that way. Yeah, check them out, Syndeo. I really like what you guys are doing. And as you said, it's only the beginning, isn't it? It can only get bigger. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on, Robert. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Cool. Cheers.